This episode of Super GG Radio is brought to you by our Patreon. Patrons of the show can get our Dogs of Super GG Radio newsletter, Super GG Radio stickers to slap on your closest PC or bag, input on what we cover, game nights with the hosts, and even a chance to win a copy of an indie we talked about. Not only that, but 90% of all patron contributions go to the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. Visit patreon.com/superggradio to learn more.
What's good, Internet, and welcome to session 270 of Super GG Radio, where friends chat about video games and all things adjacent. It sure isn't Thursday. It's actually Wednesday, but we have a new episode to cram down your ear holes. Are you writing over my episode here?
You said crumb. I was like, you're going to rob Burgundy.
That's an autocorrect. That's clearly an autocorrect. I'm your host and secret villain of the podcast, Eric Getty Gettinger. With me is lone survivor who ends up dying during the cliffhanger, Alex Arona.
Oh, I was so hyped to be like to be at the end. I was like, oh, I'm the last one. And no, I'm the stinger kill. I'm the, oh, will there be a sequel? Not with me. Because I am now gone.
You know, maybe you could make it into the first couple of minutes of that sequel.
I am the brown one. I usually go first. Except for Hostile. And sadly, that guy looked like me, I was told. So
I see that.
Yeah.
Do I have to watch that to get the reference? Like,
I was with four people and they kept yelling, "Go Rona!" Like, you got this, man.
Look up the lead actor, and I think you'll be set.
Yeah,
okay. I think that's all you need to know.
I'm gonna Google this now. But go for it.
Please don't use Google. We've established this. All right. After 270 episodes, you definitely shouldn't be using Google. Next up, we have first to die because he's not taking the threat seriously, Joel DeWitte.
I was ready for Michael Myers. I wasn't ready for a Chucky doll. I'm sorry. That there's nothing threatening about that.
I don't like any of this.
Really?
That's
the worst one. That.
All right.
You have a puppet in your house.
It's a Muppet. It's different.
Is it a Muppet?
Yes.
What makes it a Muppet?
The flappy mouth. The flappy mouth, I think, is what does it. It's like a big flappy thing.
I think the lack of Jim Henson is the problem here.
He's within reach.
Hey, if the spirit of Jim Henson is with you, that's all you need.
Oh yeah, see that's exactly what it is.
I mean, if you want to do a Muppet cast, we can, but weren't you supposed to become a Muppet streamer at some point?
Still in progress.
Okay. I'm just checking.
That just seems like it'd be a lot of work. It's kind of like you hear about like how Team America was like a ton of work because they didn't realize how much work it'd be for the puppets to move.
Yeah, but that movie was real good.
It was real good.
You could tell. All right. Lastly, we have a special guest with us this week. Found his way out of the murder house, or maybe he'll find his way out of the murder house that is Super GG Radio. Ben Bellevue. I say the last name correct?
You got so close. You did say it the way that my dad says it, and it's his last name. So like, he's wrong, but fair.
I was gonna say, are you the wrong one?
It's Bellevue, because Belle is like Beauty and the Beast Belle, the French.
Okay.
You also have to respect the French, so.
Yeah, you can choose your own adventure this week. We could kill you off. You could end up killing us off. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, that was my plan. I'm not confident that I'll succeed, but we'll see.
I mean, you can have the podcast if you want it. Just don't tell Alex.
It is free real estate.
We were at a gaming convention recently where was it Mr. Afton from the Shaggy from Scooby-Doo was there.
Matthew Willard?
Yep. Also the guy from Scream. Yes.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was funny. There was more cosplay for Scooby-Doo, but I did see one girl who was really good as Drew Barrymore in the first Scream.
Ooh.
And I was like, that's a real good choice, especially considering she's in it for like 20 minutes, like 15 minutes maybe.
I do feel like Scooby-Doo. Like, I mean, like Ghostface, obviously, but overall, I feel like Scooby-Doo has more iconic costumes to cosplay. Like, I love horror movies, but if someone's like, hey, do you want to cosplay Scream? I'd be like, do I just hold a phone and be bloody?
It's kind of
I'm
lazy,
not
right?
Ghostface, who I am. Yeah. Speaking of,
But I mean,
Muppets,
if you're not wrong looking at this, Matthew Lillard, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, and
Oh,
Linda Cardellini. Ooh, I
Linda
just love her.
Cardellini.
Oh, she has my heart.
We went to the same college.
Really?
I walked along the steps of Loyola Marymount University, and I was like, Linda Cardellini was here once upon a time.
It's the dream.
Yeah.
What was she? She was Freaks and Geeks, right?
Freaks and Geeks. I mean, like that's what she got known for sure. Yeah, and then she did Scooby Doo. Then she did a bunch of other things that I can't think of off the top
Legally
of
Blonde.
my head. That's true.
Grandma's Boy.
Oh, Grandma's Boy.
That's a very forgettable, but like a pretty okay movie.
Is it forgettable?
It's like 70 minutes and there's no plot for the first 60.
I would argue that there's no plot for any of the movie. Even when you get towards the end, it's like, was this necessary? No. Is it entertaining to watch? It's not bad. I've seen much worse.
I'll watch it hungover.
It's like a Comedy Central Sunday afternoon movie.
Oh, it 100% was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this week we are going to begin spooky season. Now that it's starting, we can't go back on it. I get to play all the scary games I want for the rest of the year. Yep. Mm-hmm. Nobody's disagreeing. Yep. Perfect.
Nope.
Then we're going to get a little... what do we got for early adopters? We got 2 games for early adopters. That doesn't seem right. How many did you guys do last week? Like 5?
How many?
4?
What?
How many early adopters did you do last week?
Oh, I only did 2. Oh, 2. I thought it was 2 or 3. Maybe.
It was 3.
See,
it was 3.
It's all chaos here. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 5. All right. We're going to get shady in the news. We're going to explore the deep secrets of Joel's backlog, probably. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in the backlog. Fantastic.
It's mostly to see what Ben's playing.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously today is to get to know Ben a little bit better. Because we got a guest spotlight, and I thought that I saw that you have an indie or outie for us, Alex.
Yeah. It'll be a fun game.
All right. I hope so.
I have pen and paper ready.
Still got my note cards over here with the in and the out on them.
Good call. We're gonna need that.
No, maybe I got rid of them. Oh well. Let's get this train moving along. We're going to go over to Early Adopters, where we play alphas, betas, and games meant to scare your pants off. Did you guys lose your pants this week? Or did everybody keep their pants on?
I never had them.
Ooh, good move. That's a pro move.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can't scare my pants off if I'm not wearing them. All right. Anybody have a preference where they want to start? We go short, we go long?
Let's go void between.
Go short. The void between. I heard a rumor that Alex is really into FMV.
I love FMV games, and that's kind of what sold me on this. Also, we had 3 options. Joel picked a 1 and a 2. First one, the demo was over. So then I was like, okay, well, this is pick number 2.
I was wondering why you ignored my recommendation.
Because I went to go grab it, and it was not a demo. It was no longer a demo.
He did send it to me first. Like, he sent it and then went, wait, it's gone, actually. So I want to be clear, Alex did the legwork for you.
There was also, though, like, you're like, oh, by the way, I tried the other one, and that demo also ended. I was like, ah, damn it.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I was playing Worshippers of Cthulhu, which is the second one. I guess I just spoiled that. Sorry. I was playing the second one this morning for like 20 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'll take my lunch break and play more of it. And then I went to load it up in my lunch break, and I was like, oh, I cannot.
Oh, is it over as well?
Yeah. Ended today.
Oh, all right. So, let's go back to the void between. Void between, full motion video. Do you want to take this one, Alex, or are you okay if I step on your toes?
Go for it, Getty.
So the Void Between is meant to be more of a suspenseful game. There might be horror elements as it progresses, but you play as just a very tired-looking guy, and he needs a break. He just needs a break, so he heads out to the country, and you gain control of him. When you get to your Airbnb, let's call it.
Yeah, hostel, because you only get a room.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what you get because you get caught in the foyer. You can't even go into the house. You have to solve a puzzle before you can go any further. And the puzzles, while you have your character on the screen, and it is just a recording of a guy, you can click around in the environment and it'll pull up like whatever there is. So, first puzzle, real simple. You just do a couple of clicks and you make a key and the door opens. Once you get into the main hallway, every door is locked. I guess that can be pretty scary. You just walk into a house and all of the doors are locked. Piano was locked.
My piano opened, baby.
Well,
I had to...
you can get the piano open, but it's locked to start.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and then from there, it's about going around and solving puzzles. They tell you like, okay, there's going to be a bunch of doors because you kind of go into like a void, and he's like, well, here you can go to a bunch of different doors. You have to figure out what you're going to do, and you pick the doors, and each one is filled with a bunch of puzzles.
Would you say you kind of go to a void between?
Oh, it was because it was between. It was a crack in the wall. And all of a sudden, you were in the void between. I didn't even put that together. Is that the? That's got to be the void between, right? That's
Probably.
the titular line. No, titular line.
Maybe.
That
I mean, it's the titular title. It's the titular.
It's the titular line and the title line. It's the same thing. No, it's pretty interesting because the puzzles are relatively simple, but then they intersplice these like little FMV sequences where the guy's kind of like, boy, I don't sure know what I'm doing, or man, I sure am tired, and then it goes right back into it. It's very,
Elementary,
it's very,
my dear Watson.
Oh yeah, FMV is very much known for its poor acting. It's supposed to be a little bit over the top, a little bit eye rolling, and this kind of does it in a way that I felt pretty good about.
If you get to the point where you can actually start selecting things and you don't press anything, the dude just sort of like aimlessly sways back and forth, kind of looking up around. It's really good.
So there's like there's idle animation film.
There is. It's you guys all went through the entire game or demo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think actually one of my favorite things about it is at the end when they did like the thank you for playing, please pre-order. The guy has footage of him like trying to act stuff out, and there's the one part where he's like falling through the void, and so they got the green screen in the back and the platform, him just sitting there waving his arms and legs like he's falling. And I really appreciate when we find these projects where you can tell there's a lot of love and care put into it. And sometimes you don't see the fun in game development side. A lot of times you see sort of the nasty grind of business, but it's nice to see some fun.
Ben, did you got a chance to play this one, right?
I sure did.
What were your initial thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm not a huge FMV person, not necessarily because I'm against it, just because like I haven't really played that much. So I think my opinion is very shaded by like I come from the film world. I went to school for film. That's what I studied. And this pitched itself as like an interactive short film. So I was looking at it as like, okay, how does it function as a video game? How does it function as a short film? Both of those demo-wise wasn't super jiving with.
Okay.
Because I mean, like it's kind of what you're talking about, where you're like, oh, it's really over the top, and I think also because I was going into it with a very like horror perspective, like that's what I was kind of expecting. There are moments where I was like, okay, I feel like tonally I'd be more freaked out if you weren't giving me this narration that I don't need.
Yeah.
So
He definitely talks every thought that he has
constantly, and I'm like, you don't need to be doing this. There are things that can just be me in the moment. Like I love puzzle games. I mean, it's hard, especially I think when your demo is also the opening of the game where you're going to be giving people the easiest puzzles, and I'm like, okay, if I'm here for puzzles, I want things that are more challenging. I will say, I thought the piano one was a little bit clever. I enjoyed that one. That was the first one I was like, okay, there's like actual puzzle solving going on here. Every other one I was kind of like, this kind of just feels like it's here, and that's fine. It's the first like minute or two of the game. But it was like, okay, clicking to get the key solved wasn't a matter of like figuring something out. It was just clicking enough times. The clock one was very obvious. Or I'm a genius. But I think the clock one was very obvious. But no, the piano one was fun. So and to your point earlier, the ending was so cute. The little sizzle of like, we're having fun making this. And I'm like, yeah, like, I think it's neat. I love art. So I think it's neat that they're like making this thing that is a hybrid of two different mediums and having fun doing it. And will I love this game when it comes out? I don't know. Probably not. But I'm open to loving it. And I think it's cool also to just experiment and have fun. And maybe you make something that isn't super great, but then next time you can make something that is.
The level of scary on this feels more like Are You Afraid of the Dark rather than like an adult focused tonally like psychological horror stuff, which is fine. Like that's not a problem. It's the tone that's going for. There's certainly enough people that it'll garner a good audience for if it follows through with both the increased difficulty of the puzzles themselves over time, the right kind of build up, and then understanding what you are as a storytelling medium and actor to know like what your lane you're trying to go for is. So we'll see. I'm curious.
I've seen I've been a big advocate for FMV for a long time just because it was such a big thing back in the early 90s, and then it kind of disappeared, and then it kind of became this like niche product that when it comes to it now, I always like to see what that space can bring. And they've done some pretty cool ideas. There was one called I want to say it was called the Facility, or no, the Complex, and that had one of the actors from Letterkenny, if you've ever seen that show. They actually had some decent actors in that. Or the big one that we're all big fans of was a game called Not for Broadcast, where you're a TV producer, a news producer, and you are changing cameras, and you are going to ad breaks, you're censoring if they're swearing, but it is an FMV game. You're watching this newscast, and silly stuff is happening. Like there's one where you're seeing a fake sports, like a version of beer pong, but it's very silly. But at one point, a streaker gets on the field, and you're supposed to keep cutting away as the streaker keeps trying to get in frame, and you have to keep cutting and switching to different camera angles, so that the main media doesn't see some guy's junk. It's very funny, and they do a lot of fun stuff with that. So I think like FMV, that's kind of what drew me to this, was just I wanted to see what the space was doing at the moment, and this seemed like a neat one. But yeah, I feel like they're at the same time. They could do a little bit more with the puzzles, or a little bit more with the gameplay as a whole. Otherwise, we're just kind of watching the movie till the next puzzle. Yeah,
and I mean, I also feel like, for me at least, what the movie was in and of itself felt like kind of... like that was the thing where I'm like, if you want something very simple, gameplay-wise, to tell a story that is, like, so far at least developed... But for me, it felt like, okay, this guy walks into this room and goes to bed, and now he's in the void. And I'm like, okay. It felt like it was not telling a full story, really, that just happened to have, like, weaker gameplay elements, or having good, strong gameplay elements, but telling a weaker story. It felt like kind of both were trying to be okay to make the other one feel... okay, I don't know.
It didn't want to outshine the other half.
There was one scene where he talks to like an evil voice, and the voice goes, "Am I asleep?" And the voice goes, "You're at the void. Also, you're asleep," or something like that. And I was like, "Wait, are we? We're asleep?"
You're the space between asleep and awake, and I'm like, sure.
Okay. Cool.
No, it's. I mean, I also like. I come from film school. I'm so used to bad student films. That's what you got to do. Like, you go through the period of making bad art. That's just life. I respect it so much. But yeah, playing it, I'm like, I don't know what you're trying. Like, I mean, it's also weird. It's a demo. It's a demo for a thing that is so fundamentally narrative in a way where I'm like, maybe if I played all 20 minutes of this short film, FMV, or all 30 minutes or however long it is, maybe I'd come out of it and be like, that's dope. That's awesome. But when you're taking something that is already short and then shortening it even more, I'm like, I get a very limited experience with it.
The thing is that it's really because we do like 2 or 3 a week, so it really for us comes down to like sometimes we'll see it's a very storybook type of game. I think we saw one like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And it's like, oh, there's like a storybook and that's cool. And I'm playing around, going through this town, and I was actually actively kind of bored. And then they're like, go get this thing from this guy, and I go into the guy's house and it's covered in blood, and he's sitting there with like 7 corpses. And then like that's kind of like where the demo like kind of comes pretty much close to an end, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm probably going to find out what happens to that. That seemed messed up. Now I got to find out. So that's where it's like you really do have to, at least with demos and stuff like that, it does help to kind of be ready to grab the audience in a way, you know.
And I mean, it's a weird thing of like, because so many demos I feel like are gameplay based, which, you know, for video games it can work. You throw someone into the gameplay and you're like, go do this. Like I growing up as a kid, I played demos all the time because I didn't have money and demos were free.
Yep.
So I'd like replay. Yeah, and I remember like distinctly, I've never played Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, but I played the demo for Star Wars: The Force Unleashed a million times because it threw you into a level and you went and played. You could be like, I'm super powerful and this is so cool. Yeah. But when you're doing a much more like not to say that these games that those aren't narrative, but like they're so drawn out that you can still throw someone into a level and someone doesn't really need to understand everything going on. In a shorter thing, you're essentially operating within the same rules as, I'm getting so film schooly about this. You're essentially operating the same rules as like a movie, and a movie has certain things like an inciting incident. So if you have to start from the beginning, because if you start in the middle, everything's confusing because you're so short, then you start in the beginning and you only really have time in the demo to get yourself to the inciting incident. And not to say that like the opening of a movie can't be good and can't hook you in. It absolutely can. But you're not going to get to the inciting incident that is like, okay, this is what this is.
Yeah.
That was a rant.
Needs a good hook.
Yeah, it needs a good hook. There's been a bunch of games where it's like, oh yeah, skate, the video games, the Skate series. We had there's a running joke that during college I downloaded the Skate demo on someone's 360, and that's what I would do is that I'd probably put in like 100 hours on the Skate demo, and be like we'd have house parties and we'd all be drinking, and I'd just be sitting on the couch playing the Skate demo. Like, are you playing this again? It's like, yeah, I'm playing this demo again.
No, hold on. You would put on a movie and be like, hey, you guys got to see this movie, and then I'd turn my head and you would just be playing Skate. That's how the house parties went. I can verify.
Yep. But yeah, that so that was Getty. What was that? That was
the void between. You want to get a little bit scarier, not terribly, but I mean,
this last one is all vibes. It's all vibes.
That's the best.
Whose vibes?
Cthulhu vibes.
We also played Worshippers of Cthulhu. Hey, y'all like RTS? like world building? Well, we got the game for you.
Some of my favorite things are combining two things, right? How do you combine? Because, you know, it's hard to come up with a new idea, but I love new ideas. But also, I like when you can put two things together and it just works kind of like, oh, I did not realize that you could put, peanut butter and marshmallow. It's like, oh, that's pretty good. Just stuff like that, and this is what Worshippers of Cthulhu is. It is, just a general like kind of SimCity-ish world builder. You're building, build a lumberjack, and then build a sawmill, and then build houses for all your workers. But the entire time you're just doing it to appease Cthulhu, and and there's a big pit where you're trying to awaken him.
I just appreciate how over the top it was. Every time you go to do something, it's like, oh, well, you got to build the altar right next to the pit. Now you got to build a lighthouse. I did make it to the end of the demo, and it's like, all right, build this altar up by the sea so that you can sacrifice somebody to summon a monster. And I was like, all right, we're gonna get monsters, and that's when the demo cut out.
Oh, I definitely liked it. It's like,
did it take you to get to the end?
Too long. I would say it was, even going at 3 times speed, it still took over half an hour.
so the demo, probably half an hour to an hour?
I mean, if you went at regular speed, I would say you probably get a good hour out of this. Okay. But I was trying to like speed it up, go at 3 times speed, because I was like, all right, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then there were a lot of things that I liked about the demo. I didn't like how it explained some of the things, though, because I felt like, you've got the expectation, like, okay, I got to do this. And it's like, don't forget to assign workers. Like, well, how do I assign a worker? I'm like clicking around for a while, and I was like, oh, yeah.
I got that. I got a tooltip about that.
It did pop up with a tooltip, but I was also trying to run through it, so I was like, how do I do it again? All right, so
the one that didn't work for me was that they like one of the things were like build. It was like a sawmill that turns the logs into wood planks, and I was like, okay, and it's like, no, this will never work. You need a storage. And I was like, I don't have a storage, and it took like 3 more steps of doing the normal story quest before it's like, oh, now you can build a storage. And I'm like, then why was I given the lumber mill in the first place?
That's when it was like, all right, you got to summon a demon. And I was like, all right, great. So then I had sheep, I had the clothing maker, and then it was like, you need blood. And I was like, where do I get blood from? Like, and then it's like, oh, there's another thing you need to build that is exclusively for blood, and it takes forever. It took forever to get blood.
Okay. So
I had a lot of homeless people. A lot of homeless people.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean, Getty?
It just kept telling me that you needed more homeless people.
Really?
You need the homeless? That feels
you need
so
the homeless.
Ben, what did you think of the vibes
capitalism,
of this
baby.
What did you think of the vibes of this game, Ben?
I dug the vibes. I've not played like SimCity style games, but I've played a shit ton of Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon.
Okay.
So I was in it and I was like, yeah, I get what's going on here. I'm also coming hard off of. I think we'll talk about this later. Coming hard off of Dredge. So I'm like, this is exactly the vibe that I've been in for the past like month. Yeah. Take something simple and then throw some Lovecraftian horror on that. Hell yeah. No, I don't like. Before you sent me this, I'd heard about it like a week ago, and I saw it and I was like, oh, this is very cool. This is like up my alley. I didn't get a ton of time to play it, as I think we discussed on Mike. Maybe we didn't. It expired today. I woke up this morning, and in bed I pulled up my Steam Deck and went, I'm gonna play some of this demo. And I played 20 minutes and then went, okay, I'm gonna make coffee, go to my desk, and play more of it at my actual computer. And I got to my computer, and I could not play more of it. So I got 20 minutes in. I built the altar overlooking the, like, pit. Yeah, I got to that, and that, I think, was my cutoff point.
I like it when it's like when they get to a thing where like what you have to carve idols that you will then give to the gods, and when you do, giant tentacles come out and grab the idol, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, sick. No, I think it's like a really cool idea too. I mean, like what you're saying, there's so many ways to combine things, and I think horror is like a really fun one to be able to do that with, and like we're seeing that with a lot of horror movies too.
Color Out in Space.
Or like oh god, why can't I think? Or like Freaky is Freaky Friday, but what if it's horror? And one that I can't remember the name, or It's a Wonderful Knife is It's a Wonderful Life, but what if it was horror?
Oh, I didn't know it.
So yeah, they're doing a lot of that, and like I'm not saying all those are successful movies or good movies, but like it's fun to kind of just be like, oh, how would you do this in a scary way? Even if it's not scary, it's just vibes. And I think that's a fun thing in video games too, where like, again, going back to like games I've been playing recently, I also just finished Inscryption. And Inscryption is like, hey, what if you're playing sorry, that's not true. I didn't finish Inscryption. I finished Act 1, which I thought was going to be finishing Inscryption.
I was curious.
And then I went, finish. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that for a second. No, I got to Act 2 and went, I need to play something else for a little while. But I finished Act 1 of Inscryption, which I thought was a very cool, because like I grew up playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So I love deck games, I love card games.
You have no idea. You have no idea. You've just said a magic word here.
But for what I do know, I was like, oh, it's cool to be like, oh, what if it's like a card builder roguelite, but scary? And I think that's dope. I love that. So, I'm very sold on the idea of build a world, but it's spooky. Whether it's this one, whether it's like Lovecraftian, Cthulhu, or if it was like, I'm a big like witch spooky person. I love witches. So I think my idea would be like, hey, do you want to build like
a coven?
A witch coven, like Salem style, like colonial vibes. I think that would be really up my alley. But I'm down. Like if someone came to me tomorrow and was like, "Hey, this game rules. Like this is a good game. I've played it. I can tell you it's a good game." I'd buy it instantly. Coming off of it's kind of a similar thing, I guess. Coming off of a demo of a game like this, it's like so much of what this kind of game is, I feel like at its starting point is the same. So for how far I got into the demo, at least, I'm like, I mean, yeah, this is good. I don't know if it will continue to be good. I feel like the first 30 minutes to an hour is so like easy to just do to a degree because they all kind of start the same way.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not a negative. It's just, this is exactly what I expected. It is the beginning of building your little town, and Cthulhu's there, and that's great.
Yeah, you have to get familiar with all the mechanics before they can start to throw the really crazy stuff. And that's, towards the end, it's like, all right, go invade this other city and, kill everybody, I guess. But right after I got my demon, little man like had tentacles rip through his body and then turned into a fish monster. That's where they cut it, and I was like, "Oh, come on!"
I like it though that they also do little things like they're like, "Here's a decision," and one of them was like, "You have to, we put some animals on a fire pit, and you have to, what do you want to do?" And it's like, "Okay, let the animals free, light the fire, or light the fire in the exact spot that I make sure that it'll burn the slowest and make them suffer the most." And it's like, "Whoa." I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, sure. Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
I got one where it was like, this guy decided that he was going to embed nails all over his face and head, and a lot of people are uncomfortable by it. And I was like, just let him walk around. Like, all right.
Free country, man.
It's Cthulhu's country, so do what you want.
Get weird, man. All right, Giddy.
I think we could be good with worshippers of Cthulhu.
I wishlisted that.
You did?
Yes, I did.
I'm interested. I haven't played an RTS in a very long time, and now that I know that Age of Mythology is remastered or whatever they decided to do with it, I don't know if Worshippers of Cthulhu is going to win, but we shall see. All right, so you know what? Let's go ahead and take a quick break here, and then we can come back and figure out where it all went wrong. We're back with the news. The news with Super GG Radio. We got 15% more frowns this week.
So frowny.
And you can't
I didn't even include the depressing news.
There's depressing news?
It's always depressing news. We're in the games industry.
That's true.
Who's in the games industry? Who? I just read words that are on a file here.
What's next, Scotty?
What's first? Risk of Rain developer cancels next project to join Valve. You mean like the Counter-Strike guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Valve's spinning up development all of a sudden. I mean,
That's weird.
Well, I mean, it's funnier because everyone's talking about Deadlock right now. And that's the thing is that Valve it was a beta test and everybody was like, "Oh, we're playing Deadlock," and it's a Valve game, and Valve's like, "We're not doing anything. I don't know what you guys are talking about." Like for like the first 2 weeks of Deadlock, everyone was like, "Shut up! You're not going to talk about it." And someone's like, "I'm playing Deadlock," and then they're like, "Nope, you're not. You're not anymore. You're not. Ban."
Why people got to spoil the good stuff? If I hadn't known about it.
And the funnier part is that if you go to the Deadlock Steam page, there is stock footage of just a scene in an alley, nothing happening, and then the cover image is just a shadowy character, no text. It's like you would not know what this is, and then it just says developer Valve, publisher Valve, and it says the Deadlock is still early in development. Doesn't say what it is. No information what it is. Nothing going on. There's nothing going on here, guys.
You see, this is the perfect way to do it, though. Because you're just hinting at it enough that people are going to be like, "Oh, yeah, I went over. There's nothing on this." There's literally nothing on this page. It's just like, this is an early development game.
So I won't say that the Risk of Rain guy is probably going to work on Deadlock, but the idea is still that Valve is hiring people to start working on games, and Risk of Rain has been getting a lot of good press lately, especially with all their DLC updates. Risk of Rain 2. So
what does this mean for the Risk of Rain games, though? Like, does that development outfit still exist to maintain them, or what happens?
I would assume so. This is mostly just the one head guy, so from here they could still have the team continue to support it. I don't know how much content there's going to be. Risk of Rain 2 is like 3 years old now.
It's been around for a bit. We talked about it on this podcast.
Yeah, yeah, we played the demo of it. Ben, you ever played the Risk of Rains?
Episode.
I have not.
They're good multiplayer. Like, you guys are just shooting enemies in large waves with a counter that says forever. And you just see how long you could last. They're pretty fun. Especially if you're just like hanging out with your friends.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest, with the entire time you've been talking about it, I'm like, I know the name Risk of Rain, couldn't tell you a single thing about it.
Risk of Rain 1 was 2D, really 8-bit looking, side-scrolling, but it's the same thing. You're shooting and just trying to survive. Risk of Rain 2 went 3D.
They added another dimension.
They did.
And Risk of Rain 3 could go 4D.
Ooh.
Put it in the Regal theaters.
Oh, I skipped. I googled it and I was like, Risk of Rain 4. Oh, I skipped ahead. Getty, what's next? I put this one in here for you.
I don't know why. I haven't played World of Warcraft in forever. World of Warcraft news. Blizzard struggled to find new good villains since they only leaned on... I think you mean Warcraft 3. So I'm just going to make an addendum.
WoW 3?
You put WoW 3?
Oh, yeah. I'll put Warcraft 3, yeah.
It's good. World Soul Saga is their break away from that. So I take it that they have new villains, or there's no villains, or what? What does this mean?
It's actually the fact that there's it's called the World Soul Saga because it's not one expansion; it's a series of expansions that is going to tell the story of a new villain, starting with this new expansion. That's starting a story of a character and how they slowly become a villain to them becoming a villain over the course of a couple expansions. Okay. But this is one of the early one of the head developers talking about this, saying that they felt like they were always handcuffed to Warcraft 3, and that they could never really break away, and that whenever they did, it didn't really work out that well. So now they're saying that they're finally taking the bold steps to break away from Warcraft 3.
I mean, yeah, they had to do some time hop stuff in order for you to play in events that occurred in the first two Warcraft games. You remember doing those, right?
Yeah, but it's weird the fact of why it's weirder the fact that they felt that they had to constantly rehash the old content.
How long has WoW been out for?
Ooh, got to be close to 19? Maybe is it over 20 years now?
2004.
It's at least
so 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years in
There we go.
November.
20 years, and they're now just starting to openly say that they needed to rely on world building within World of Warcraft to develop their new foes rather than lean on WoW or World of Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3, holy cow.
I don't think you
Wow,
ever made
dude.
it. They
That was a journey.
they actually introduced a raid called the Temple of Time,
Mm-hmm.
where each different raid would send you back to a very specific event in Warcraft 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And so you could relive them in World of Warcraft. Like, okay, I'm going to go do this raid where I fight the boss from Warcraft 2. Sweet. Like, they really were milking that a lot. And like, well, not milking
He
it.
sold you on the nice version of it, where it's like, oh yeah, I get to do. That's not how it worked back in the day. It was, man, you got to respec right now. No, put your points in this. No, get rid of that gear. No, you have to go run this other raid before you can raid with us. Alex.
That's how it worked. You weren't allowed in my guild.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a big source of drama for everybody involved.
I don't want to heal, man. Don't want to heal. All right. Next piece of news. Batman game set in the Matt Reeves universe is in development. He said that? Matt Reeves said that? He verbally told you that?
No, I can't remember who said that, but that news came out.
Who? Is this news or is this news?
I gotta Google where this came
This
from.
is-
I saw
Oh, okay.
A ramshackle.
according to WB.
The people at WB?
Yes.
You got an in over there now?
No.
Okay.
This came out through the news series. Ben, what did you think of the Matt Reeves Batman? Did you see those?
Fucking loved it, dude. It was great. The movie rules.
The reason why I wanted to ask you about it is because my favorite part was that it actually felt like if you took it from the point of view of any of the henchmen, villains, or anybody surrounding it, it definitely felt like a horror movie. The way Batman would just like appear out of nowhere, just like plotting.
Yeah. Also, like the Riddler, I don't like that interpretation of the Riddler in terms of like being the Riddler, but as a character completely removed from that, I love DC Comics. As a character removed from that, scary. Like that scene of him breaking into I forget who it like the opening scene of him breaking into that guy's house.
Oh, the mayor's office?
Is scary. Yeah. Of course it's the mayor. Why did I act like I didn't know? Him breaking into the mayor's house, office, wherever, is terrifying. That's good movie. Great movie.
And I just kept like putting myself in every villain's shoes where like at one point we gotta go, the Batman's coming, and Penguin's like, I don't care who the hell that is, and then all of a sudden you hear the roar of the car and you see the lights of the engine appear and he's like, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here. I was like, that's horrifying to just hear like with this, it feels like a lion's roar of an engine. Is this guy's gonna try to run you down? They just keep
it's really
They just keep throwing
please continue.
trucks at him. They keep throwing cars at him, and he just keeps plowing through them. They're like, what is happening?
I think it's really interesting how well that movie is able to maintain its tone because, like, yes, I think it is somehow both the scariest form of Batman I've ever seen, despite the fact, like, in live action, despite the fact that, you know, like, the Christopher Nolan movies very strongly push the idea of, like, I have to be, like, a being of fear. I have to scare them. And, like, they do good jobs. Not to say that they don't. But I think this movie does a very good job of, like, feeling it, like, feeling his, like, whole vengeance thing. But also, I'm making this about movies, I'm sorry. But also...
That's why we got you here.
Thank you. But also, my favorite aspect of Batman is, like... He's not my favorite superhero or my favorite DC superhero by any means, but I love Nightwing. I love Dick Grayson. I love the Bat family. And I feel like this is the first Batman I've seen where I'm like, I can see this becoming the Batman who has a Bat family. Like, the end of that movie where he's like, no, I can't just be a being of vengeance. I have to be, like, a hero to these people as well. I'm like, cool. Dope. You get it for once.
My daughter is named Robin for a reason.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. But I would play this game. I would be excited to see what they do with this.
Yeah.
Licensed games don't go great. They don't often go great.
That's true, but I also think they're kind of fun. Like, they're bad, but they're kind of... Like, it was a silly little time for us, you know? We just made so many bad little video games.
What is the most like an interesting licensed game that all of you have played recently?
Ooh.
Recently?
The Mummy.
Those don't exist.
The Mummy Demastered, and it was The Mummy, the Tom Cruise movie. And it looked like Contra.
You
That's
played
fascinating.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, The Mummy Demastered.
This isn't entirely accurate. It's not like a tie-in. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. The Blue's Clues point-and-click games from the 1990s. From the same developers that made Pajama Sam and Putt Putt. Shit ruled. I don't know. What like actual tie-in games have I played? I don't remember anymore. I know I have.
Lord of the Rings games
was
based
young.
off the movies. Those were big in my
That's as
house.
far back. I don't
of the
think I've
Rings
played
3.
anything since then. Yeah.
Just
I
really,
had 2 towers.
really solid action beat 'em up style gameplay, good leveling systems, diverse cast. They had like special features from the movie. Those, and also they tried really hard to transition from actual film footage into gameplay, which seemed really cool at the time and really funny now to look at. They thought they pulled one over on us.
Joel, weren't you playing RoboCop Rogue City?
I am. That's a very good one. If you like very slow first-person shooters.
Spider-Man 2, also
Solid.
a classic.
Yeah.
I heard real good things about Dune Awakening. That's coming out. I'm trying to think. No one played Golem.
No.
Someday.
No one.
played Golem. Yeah, I don't know. There's some good ones coming out. I mean, people like the Harry Potter one. There's that new Ninja Turtles one that's a roguelike. There's a bunch of...
But also, I guess the question is also, like, what counts as a tie-in game? I know I opened this by saying what I think fundamentally isn't a tie-in game with Blue's Clues, but, like, if you're not releasing it to tie in specifically with the release of a movie, I don't think you're a tie-in game. I think you're just a game based on the same IP.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Mummy Demastered still counts because that was literally the Tom Cruise movie.
And Spider-Man 2, like the
GameCube, PlayStation 2.
2000s. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Whereas like, and like Dune, like even Dune Awakening, like yes, it's based on the same IP, and obviously it's being built as like revving up the engines of the Dune franchise now. But it's not like, guys, Dune 2 is out. We need a Dune game.
Yeah. That's very true. Okay.
Yeah?
Yep, hit me, Getty.
Okay. Square ends support on Final Fantasy Brave...
Exvius?
Exvios.
That was the turn-based phone game.
You playing a lot of that, Alex?
I used to. It was the one with Ariana Grande.
What about Ariana Grande?
Yeah,
What
this-
was
She's in
she
that game.
to it?
She's
in the game
Yes.
as a voice actor? Or
No, that she's a character, which is very. What's funnier is that the article I read was Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. The game with Ariana Grande character is now shutting down.
Is she just playing herself?
She she went through an album phase where she wore like a dominatrix kind of outfit with a bunny hat and mask.
Okay.
And that was like her thing. So that's her character in said game.
Got it.
That's not even her first video game because she's in Fortnite.
She is in Fortnite. She's in Fortnite. They're adding more and more musicians. When will I get my Chapel Roan skin? That's all that matters to me.
That's gotta be soon. She is so hot right now.
I sure hope so. I mean, I guess she also would have to say yes to that, and I'm not sure she would.
She, again, so hot right now. I'm waiting for that VR concert, that Sabrina Carpenter concert. A disappointment. Disappointing in VR. Doja Cat was all right.
I thought that you'd got that. I thought that you watched it.
I did. It was a disappointment.
Who?
In VR, the concerts, the Doja Cat concert, you're in the crowd. and the footage in front of you is like a big movie screen, but it's taken as if from the view of a close up in the stands.
Sure.
Sabrina Carpenter, it looked like it was just camera footage because there was above angles and below angles.
Interesting.
And it was changing as it went, and I'm like, this isn't like I could watch
that sucks.
this. Yeah, I could watch this on YouTube. I'm trying to I'm in VR for a reason. I don't know. It was okay.
I'm scared about your VR reasoning.
I'm really just to attack those Titans, Getty. My shoulder hurts. We gotta talk about that later.
I thought that your shoulder hurt from clicking the mouse button too much. Also a thing that happened on this podcast.
That was in click holding. Was it click holding?
Yes.
It was click holding.
Yes, it was.
Click holding. That's
You
a whole
threw
other
out
thing.
your shoulder from clicking too hard.
I also threw out my shoulder from that one game where the cars are constantly trying to hit you. That was horrifying, and also, yes. All right, let's keep going.
Well, there's no more. Oh, there's you added more news.
If you heard me earlier burst out laughing and cover my mouth, it's because I watched as Minecraft movie trailer was getting added to this list.
Well, there's a Minecraft movie trailer. I sure watched it without sound earlier, so maybe it's good with sound. I don't know.
It's not.
It's
I
not.
got. So
In fact, no.
It's funnier because I had two separate I was in a podcast chat room, and the conversation was pretty much like, we're done with Jack Black, right? We're all kind of done with him. And then I talked to some friends of ours and who are also like, Jack Black is one of the greatest human beings ever lived. And I was like, I don't know what to think here. People are really there's a real heavy dichotomy on Jack Black. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting oversaturated on Jack Black.
I feel like a lot of people also have turned against him after the whole Tenacious D thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a combination of oversaturation plus if you get some bad ill will, all of a sudden it just compounds with oh, there's that guy again, and I'm still reminded that he was kind of a dick that one time.
Yeah, it's a weird thing too of I think he's doing too much of the same kind of roles recently, where I liked him in Super Mario. I'm like, okay, you're in Mario, and now you're in Minecraft, and you were in Jumanji, which is also very similar to Minecraft, seemingly.
Borderlands.
And I'm like, what? Yeah, and I'm like, just give me another holiday.
Yeah.
Give me another movie where you're just a charming hot guy. Stop doing the exact same role over and over and over and over. And I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm sure he's getting typecast too, but yeah, to your point, I'm just I get it. I've seen this. I feel like I've seen this.
Yeah. And I don't think that we needed Jason Momoa with purple bangs in this. I just don't know if that was what I needed.
You did. You specifically asked for this after the last Fast and Furious movie. You're like, you know what I could use more of?
Ben, did you see the last
Jason
Fast and Furious
Momoa.
movie?
I haven't.
It's Jason
I want to
Momoa
be
as
clear.
a...
Oh, I know. I want to be so clear. I love the Fast and Furious franchise.
Okay.
I just haven't seen the last one.
But you've seen what Jason Momoa does, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
He's got the little pink little pigtail bobs that he's painting corpses' toenails. All of it's fantastic. It's fantastic. All right. What did everyone think of this Minecraft movie? Did anyone I watched it and I was kind of uncomfortable with a lot of it. What do you guys think?
Jack Black was the least interesting thing there. A lot of it looked nice. I liked the portrayal of the actual world and the different enemies and stuff. Whatever. I'm sure we'll see it eventually here.
I was uncomfortable with how blocky, here's a sheep, and it's has a square head, and I was and it's really realistically rendered. It felt gross. It was a body horror thing that I felt uncomfortable with.
Sign me up. I'm for it.
It's a weird thing for me where I'm I know objectively the Lego movie did work, and Minecraft and Lego are so similar, but also, I'm going to say the same thing that I said when the Lego movie got announced, which is, why? Why would you do this? We don't need this. Let it be at this, big, playful world that people video game with. It doesn't... Why?
I don't know, man.
Maybe I'll
I
eat
said
my
that about
shoe,
Trolls.
but why?
I said
Trolls
that about...
was kind of fuck. Yeah.
I was going to say, I said that about Trolls, and I'm on Trolls 3, and I'm like, man, this movie's pretty good. All these movies are pretty good. They do good
Trolls
mashups.
2, surprisingly great.
Oh, yeah. I like the mashups. I'm like, oh, you could put, junior, senior, and mash it up with We Are Family. I'm into it.
I think that's my issue with this movie is that like from watching the trailer is that I feel like the Lego Movie and Trolls, like, yes, I went into both of those being like, why? But they were movies that, to your point, had fun with their concept and used it as an opportunity to mash things up. And at least based on this trailer, it kind of just looks like Jumanji, but now it's Minecraft. And I'm like, okay. Sure.
And let's be clear, I've seen all the Jumanji movies, and each time I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie. This is a terrible idea. And I watch it, and I'm like, I guess that was a solid C plus B minus. I didn't hate everything that I saw. And then I'm like, I never want to watch it again. And then it's on again, and I'm like, well, I could probably watch this. Like, I don't know what's
6.
I don't know what's going on with Jumanji 2 and 3. I feel real weird about it. Getty,
okay.
What did you think of the Minecraft movie?
Again, I didn't get a chance to watch it with sound. I was just like, well, these visuals look okay.
They look real colorful and kind of trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything, but I'm pretty sure that Jack Black just screamed, "I'm Steve."
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay.
He did say that.
That was the takeaway.
They had some Beatles in the trailer, too.
I could hear him without having the sound on.
There was Beatles in the trailer. That was really weird.
Yeah. I'm not sure I need another trailer song of them taking a well-known song and then, like, remixing it into something else.
Yeah.
I would have been just fine with them using
that's-
the actual song.
Except for in Mario, where they did that. They just used all licensed music, and that was confusing.
Yeah.
They had the budget, man. They're going to use it.
Oh, the budget?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said Budget Man, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Speaking of
They
confusing...
had to budge a man.
Yeah. Again, I was very confused. Getty, what's next?
I guess we're doing freebies.
Freebies.
Freebies!
Can we do freebies?
Let's do freebies.
Freebies. Fwa.
Okay, hit me.
Some of these games are not free right now.
Well, again, this episode will go live when it goes live. I got the ones from the Epic Games Store. Let's go.
These are the games that will be free by the time this airs. All right. First one. Sniper Ghost Warrior contracts over on the Epic Games Store.
The Sniper series. This is one of those games where you pick targets and then you shoot in slow-mo. Yeah, a lot of people like to shoot them in the junk. It goes 3D. It's pretty sweet. Become the ultimate assassin in the most realistic Modern Warfare sniping game available. And that's on the Epic Games Store.
Is that true, or somebody just wrote that?
I wrote I gave a little bit of the Steam page.
Okay. The Epic Game Store page?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Football Manager 2024 on the Epic Game Store.
You know how I like work likes?
Unfortunately, I do.
So now imagine if you could took, soccer and you make it a work like. This is literally managing. I'm watching this video on how to play and I'm getting bored. It's managing press conferences. You're managing seating stadium prices. You're managing the obviously the tactics and way that they're going to be setting up the zones for the game so that you can see them do different plays, but you're never ever playing any of it. It's all management all the time. 2024.
I don't want that, but somebody does, so it's free for you to have. Next game, Boxcars on Steam.
Oh, this is releasing October 1st, so I got it.
Okay, so that is nowhere near today.
Free and open source online backgammon. There we go, Getty.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back in a month to let you know it's free again.
I'm going to wishlist this because I need to know how to play backgammon. I don't.
And last but not least, Mazes and Labyrinths over on Steam.
Single screen puzzle game set in a fantasy world of antinomia. Use your wits, powers, and even the enemies themselves to solve over 70 deceptively difficult mazes or create your own levels and puzzles to challenge your friends. Mazes and labyrinths.
All right. Let's, take a quick break, and then we'll be back to slay this dragon. And we're back with the Backlog Blog, where we play games. Well, I thought that Joel was playing games, but that's not true.
Who plays games?
I don't know. What are you doing over there?
Applying to jobs. What do you think I'm doing?
I mean, all right. Well,
a game in its own right.
Yeah. You're lucky we got a ringer this week.
Saddest game.
Ben has 2 games that he's willing to talk about, and we are very lucky that he is experiencing, or he already experienced the first act of Inscryption.
I did.
You may go heavy on the spoilers for the first act.
Sure. Yeah, I played the first act of Inscryption, which I thought was going to be all of Inscryption.
Mm-hmm.
I got towards the end of that, and I was like, I'm getting to the end of this game. Solved all the little puzzles in that room, was enjoying my little roguelite, build my deck as I go, get it stronger and stronger, get as far as I can. Got to the end, felt real good about myself, was a little confused trying to get out of it for a hot second at the end there, where they're like, you're in this room now, you've escaped, I guess? And I didn't know how to get out, I had to look that up. But then I found out that was Act 1. And there's 3 of them, I guess. So yeah, now I've reached Act 2, which is just like still a card game, but very different. I don't feel like I know what is in store for me at all at this point. But I really liked Act 1. It was really cool. I liked I love roguelites. So I love roguelites when they work for me. A lot of times they have not. There's a delicate balance there, but like I love Hades. I love Hades 2. I also played that recently. I love Balatro, and Balatro is what got me in that itch where I was like, I'm gonna go play Inscryption. I've heard great things. So it's really fun to build a deck each time, to like go back to the starting point, to feel a bit stronger each time, a bit more like you understand the gameplay each time. And I just love the vibes of Act 1. The vibes are immaculate. I want more horror card games, frankly.
I almost felt a little disappointed once I realized that you weren't staying in that little shack the entire time because of the mood and the tone, and I loved how everything started off as a board game and you traveling down the adventure that way, right?
And the map rolling out, and like, oh, it's so cool. It's so cool.
There's a great level of detail to everything that's in that game. I loved it. How many squirrels did you sacrifice?
Oh, God. A lot? Many. Jeez.
Count it in number of squirrel pelt coats. You could...
Round to the nearest
Hundreds.
dozen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think I sacrificed a bunch.
There's a...
Because I'd
Go ahead.
given them... Like, I got one of those, like, totem things where I could make the squirrels all have, like... They don't die. They, like, shift over and create a tail.
Yes.
So there was a while there I was just like, I have infinite squirrels.
Yes. The
great.
infinite money glitch kind of stuff is the stuff that's just perfection in card games. It's when it's just like the self-perpetuating machine, you know. So remind me.
That's kind of what I liked about Inscryption, was the fact that they built it so you could break it. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the tools.
So remind me, what is Act 2? So you said you just got into it. Remind us visually what it's like.
It's very like old school top down black and white video game. I think it's like they did a whole thing where they're like, oh, there was the wizard and there was this one and this one and this one. There's like different types of decks, and now I'm in like a top down kind of like open world, I guess. It feels very like it feels very Zelda, but it feels kind of like that kind of
the structure or
OG,
foam format.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or like I guess I'd say more accurately like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like OG Pokemon.
Supposed to mimic the Pokemon card game, because as you progress through that, when you defeat, they give you packs of cards, right? And then you build your deck based on the... Yeah, so exactly like that. Joel played that. I think he's still got a copy of it.
I'm sure I do somewhere. So, how are you feeling about going into the rest of the game? Does you know how many acts there are now? Or did you know before you started?
I didn't know going into it that there were 3. I kind of figured it out. I think because I was stuck. It's because I got to the end of Act 1 and was stuck. And I was like, oh, how do I finish this game? I assumed I was just like stuck at like the last silly little puzzle. And I was like, I just want to like finish this. And I searched like, oh, I'm in this the scenario, and they were like, oh, I got stuck at the end of Act 1, and I was like, no, I'm not at the end of Act 1. This is like the end of the game. And I looked a little bit further, and I'm like, oh. So yeah, no, there's a reason I switched from Inscryption to Dredge, not because I'm not excited to finish the game, just because I was like, okay, this feels like a very strong tonal shift. So I'm going to go play something else, and I'll come back to this when I feel like, when I'm not so in the mindset of like enjoying Act 1's format and can now just appreciate Act 2 as its own game, which is what I assume it's going to be. So I don't know when I'm going to finish this game. I'll get around to it. We'll find out.
I think it's worth it, especially if you kind of know that like the Acts 2 and 3 are much. I felt like they were shorter.
Okay, that's good to know.
I felt like once I wrapping my head around the mechanics and kind of fumbling around with Act 1 led to me having a better understanding when it came to Act 2 and 3. They just update a little bit of that. Oh, now, by the way, you have to get energy, which you can get energy from these battery cards and this other thing. And they kind of just shift it just a little bit. And then it's like, oh, okay, now I understand. Okay, now I can wrap my head around it because I already did this once.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing, too, where I was like, oh, I'm at the end of Act 1. So in my mind, I was like, okay, there's 2/3 at least of this game to still get through. I'll get back to it. But I was like,
and then if you ever want I could give you the 20-minute info dump on the ARG about this game, because there's obviously like an ARG and a whole other meta commentary. There's DLC, and that's the DLC is actually just it's kind of like a roguelike mode. That's a whole other build your own adventure kind of situation, which also has this all hidden lore and stuff like that. And all of his Daniel McMillan, all of his games are kind of tied together. So they're all in the same universe. So there's also a lot of hidden aspect to Russian spies, but also Satan, and then also all this other stuff. So yeah, if you ever want the lore dump on the ARGs, it's then you don't have to sift through and find all the hidden. It's okay, give me a 20-minute video explaining it. Perfect.
When I finish the game, I know who I'll talk to.
Yeah. Especially I want to ask what you think of Act 3.
I mean, truthfully, part of what made Inscryption so fun to play when we did is because we knew several people playing it at the same time, and we could all just sort of tag in and say something in a group chat of wow, I just got to this part, or if you got stuck asking questions and stuff. So, even if you're not playing with, if you know anybody who's played it, it's a good conversation piece.
That makes sense. I know. I was talking to a friend of mine recently where I mentioned that I was playing it, and he was like, "Oh, I love that game," so I might start pestering him incessantly.
Yeah. Now, I also want to hear what you think of Dredge.
Dredge is great. I mean, like we talked about that earlier, where I'm like, I love an indie. I think I am just I'm predisposed, I think, to indie games overall. I think because I grew up playing a lot of games that felt like games to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I grew up playing Ratchet and Clank, and I grew up playing Jack and Daxter and Roller Coaster Tycoon and, you know, Blue's Clues, and a lot of games where I just felt like I love storytelling, don't get me wrong, but I played a lot of games where I felt like the first aspect of it was the gameplay, the second aspect of it was the story. And not that I don't love, like, Uncharted is one of my favorite games of all time, Uncharted 4 specifically. Not that I don't love narrative-driven games, but I think it's very easy for, like, AAA narrative-driven games to get exhausting for me. And a small game where I'm like, you can be interesting and artsy and unique is much more easy, and also shorter often. Mm-hmm. Games are so long now, and I get so burnt out so easily. So yeah, Dredge, I was like, yeah, this is great. I get to, like, putter around in my little boat, and I get to fish. And every so often, maybe an unspeakable cosmic horror will destroy me. Who knows?
You never know what you find,
really cool.
and all the fish are mutated beasts.
Yeah. It's so cute, and it's so charming, and I really like this lingering, and, like, I love the lighthouse, which is also a very, like, you know, like, it's a very different tone in a lot of ways, but it is still, like, it is about, you know, being out at sea, and this kind of, like, not pure horror, but this lingering, like, overarching dread that you don't quite understand. So it really tapped into a vibe that is up my alley. And yeah, no, I really liked it. I will definitely be buying the DLC at some point. I'm trying to get through a backlog of games right now, so I finished it and I was like, okay, I should probably go play a different indie soon. But because I have a Steam Deck now, and Ooh. It's great. It has made me engage with video games in a way I haven't in a while. So yeah, no, Dredge, big fan. Good game.
They just came out with a documentary, I believe, like a couple months ago about how it was made. I gotta
on NoClip.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched it a couple days ago. And that's cool. Yeah, that's cool too. It's like a team of 4 people. That's like the cool thing about indie games too, is, you know, you can find these amazing games that are made by like 4 people, 5 people, and it's about, and I know I said, like, oh, story versus mechanics, but I think it's also like you can get some really cool, interesting storytelling. Like, my favorite game of all time is Journey. Mm-hmm. And that is, you know, not a narrative, quote unquote, in the way that you'd get from like a movie or a AAA game. But I think it does have a story that is so fundamental to it that I cry at the end when I play it. So, like, I just love games that are, you know, small enough and agile enough that they can do interesting, cool things with the mechanics of this medium, instead of just being like, well, we're so expensive and bloated that we kind of need to be what you expect from. And again, not to say that I don't love AAA games. I do, but I fucking love indies.
No, man, you're preaching to the choir.
God of War's fine.
God of War's
play
fine.
Like,
it's fine.
Nah, man, for me, it's like, if you get in and out in 2 hours and you make me cry, like, this might be one of my favorite games of the year.
And that's, like, again, like, not always connecting it back to movies, but, like, that's also why there was a time where I considered myself more of a TV person, and I feel like I've become more of a movie person, because I'm just like, I love when I can go in, sit for 2 hours, have the experience, and it's like a complete package, and I'm like, cool, I'm out.
The other thing about that, and especially with indies, is that they're by necessity forced to be really creative in how they pursue the work, right? Just of the limited team, limited resources, they have an idea and they just need to go for it. It reminds me a little bit of like the Deadpool thing, where the first movie, like, to me, a lot of what made that really good is that they had to be creative, and it showed in not just the story, but the writing and how they handled the action scenes and stuff.
Yeah, and also at the same time, with the indies trying to make it a short form experience that it tends to be a little bit more artistic or emotionally impactful. How do you make that a game without just making a movie, right? That's where we get a lot of walking simulators, like as a genre, where it's like, wow, why am I'm just walking forward and then the game is talking at me, and that's not always my favorite. I need a little bit more than that. But that's kind of where you have to kind of thread that needle between like, okay, walking simulator or actually engaging in gameplay that makes the story feel like it comes alive with what you're telling me.
I think that's to a degree also the cool thing with indies, where it's like you can take that risk more. You can be like, okay, well, if I am a walking simulator, I'm a 2-hour walking simulator that or like a 3-hour walking sim that maybe people will like not necessarily like be like totally love, but be okay with at least enough to recoup our investment. Whereas if you're this like giant game, it's like that's like 20 hours long and costs $200 million. You're like, well, no one's gonna put up with this that long, so we can't experiment as much.
Yeah, it's a safety versus risk proposition for sure.
Yeah,
I think that we saw that with like a game called We Happy Few, where it was like there wasn't a ton going on, and it kind of felt very like it was kind of split between two games that they wanted, like two separate teams wanted to make two different games, and then they end up having to like just kind of force it together in the middle, and then it ended up not being that kind of like just stuck at somewhere in limbo at the end. With that though, I'm going to take over for a second and say, Ben,
hello.
I met you at Summer Game Fest.
You did.
Yeah, and you tell us more about you. Where are you? You work with a YouTube channel. Which one specifically?
I work for a YouTube channel called Dead Meat. I am a brand manager and producer at the company. So it's a weird thing where it's like YouTube channels are weird things, I feel like, because it's like we're a company. Like, you know, we're a production house, but also we exist so fundamentally through YouTube that I'm like, yeah, I work for like a YouTube channel. But yeah, no, I work for a YouTube digital media production company called Dead Meat, and we make videos on YouTube about horror movies and sometimes horror video games and TV, but a lot of times about horror movies.
And when I talked to you, you said you were kind of working towards trying to do a little bit more with video games.
Yes, I am. Well, so we are. We actually announced like a month or two ago. So our main show is this thing called the Kill Count, where we go through a movie. We discuss the plot of the movie. We count how many people are killed throughout the movie, and also go into behind the scenes of how it was made as we go through it. And we just announced that one of our hosts, Zorn, is going to officially be doing a monthly horror video game Kill Count series. So we're kicking that off in December, and then every month from that point on, we'll get a video game Kill Count, which I'm very excited about.
What do you know what the first one's going to be? Or have you announced it yet? Or
I do, but we haven't announced it, so I sure can't say.
Okay. That's still super exciting though, because there are like a lot. You know, the genre of horror has kind of gone through this really interesting renaissance with things like A24 and more cerebral horror, and also just a lot of revitalization of some of the classic genres, right? You see people doing, like for us, we kind of grew up with like monster kind of horror, but that kind of died away, and now people are starting to bring it back, and there's just a lot of like try to return to form and experimentation with that. And the same kind of goes with horror games, where you do have things like Outlast, which that series, there's no attacks, there's no defense, it's just run and hide, and that's like brings its own kind of horror. But then there's other games where you're actively engaging in horror, like the Phantasmaphobias, right, where you're like ghost hunters, right? It's an interesting time to be into even just horror games, especially like horror indie. Have you dug deep into like the indie horror space?
I've dug deep in the sense of like I know it pretty well. I feel like I know of a lot of it pretty well. I wouldn't say I've necessarily played a ton of it. I want to. I mean, that was kind of like even Dredge and like Inscryption. That was me kind of wanting to get more involved in it. I think there was a while where I knew we were kind of talking about doing more video game horror stuff at Dead Meat, and I didn't want to play the games prematurely because I was like, well, maybe I need to play it for work, so I should hold off. So there's been a while of me being like, okay, I don't want to touch these yet, even though I know I'm interested. But I still have PT on like a PS4 right now. So I've played PT.
We just did it all. We did it during Extra Life, the gaming charity.
Oh yeah.
So we played PT.
It's a great game.
If you know how to get past the stages.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the fun.
We spent a long time on that final section trying to get the baby sounds.
Look, and that's what Google's for.
No, they actually they discovered it like 3 months later. Like, we dug into the code and we figured out how exactly to make it happen. And we were like, because we spent like a half an hour to an hour just like, trying to get things to happen. Because all the websites were like, well, it kind of works if you do this. It kind of works if you go spin around 3 times and then freeze and then do this other thing. And yeah, so when we were doing it, it wasn't quite there yet.
Gotcha. Okay, so you did this a while ago then.
Well, I think the discovery happened this year.
Oh, it happened this year.
Yeah, they dug into the mechanics and
goes to show that I never tried to actually finish that.
Don't worry, it's a skill issue. We're not that great.
But no, I it's a weird golden age for like horror movies and horror video games, I feel like, and that was why I was pushing so hard for we should do horror at my company, like horror games at my company, because I was like, there's so many horror games coming out, I feel like every 5 seconds. Some of them so incredible too, and then like you have the classics. You have like Silent Hill, and you have Resident Evil, and you
Bioshock.
have this like Bioshock. You have this wealth of, and Until Dawn and The Quarry and Dead by Daylight's super popular now. The Casting of Frank Stone just came out or is about to come out. I forget the time.
That was one of the demos I was actually thinking about. I was like, should we play?
I think it's out today.
Oh, is it out today?
You should go. Hold on.
Because I know the demo is available.
I will verify for sure. The demo is out today, and you can buy and play it today as well.
Okay, so it came out. Okay, so good thing we didn't do that demo yet.
Yesterday.
Have you played the Dead by Daylight games?
I have not played Dead by Daylight. I have played. I played some of Until Dawn and some of The Quarry. Both games that I started and got like 2 sessions into, and then went, I'll get back to this. Just like, those are games I always try to play with friends. Mm-hmm. So then we're always like trying to coordinate a time to play them, and inevitably kind of forget that we were trying to coordinate a time to play them, and then don't. So that has been the hurdle for both of those. But they're both like what I've played of them. They're both very good games, and I love. Like choose your own adventure, like I love those style of games. I've played, like Telltale ones.
The Life is Strange, the your actions have consequences kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess embarrassingly, I've completed a lot of the non-horror versions of those.
There are a lot of really good ones. I mean,
yeah. I love it coming of age. What can I say? Life is Strange had me by the throat.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, those are phenomenal games. The Dead by Daylight, I always say it's like, oh, that's just Fortnite, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm playing Nick Cage, and someone is Rebecca Valentine from Resident Evil, and we're running from Chucky and one of the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. Got it. And then all of a sudden, Belmont and Alucard are there from Castlevania. I don't know. It's weird. So there's way too many crossovers of that.
It's the, hey, play with your action figures in a video game, but you're goth. Yeah.
It's fun. I like that. I like that idea that like everything is just a mishmash now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I got back into Fortnite like this week because they put X-Men stuff in it, and I was like, I like the X-Men. I'm gonna go buy Cyclops.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
He became a real, like, fascist later on in the comics, but I'm glad that people still love him. All right. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your YouTube channel? Because like I subscribed to it for sure, but I looked at it. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm gonna click this thing here. But I like a lot of the stuff you're doing with it, especially like a lot of the classic horror movies and new horror movies that are going on.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we release this year. We're releasing a kill count every week at least. We're also approaching October when we're going to have 2 kill counts every week. So right now we're in the middle of doing the VHS series. So every other kill count is covering one of the VHS movies. We're also doing a super fun thing that I'm proud of, in the sense of like proud for my friends who at the company who kind of put this all together and who gave me the opportunity to be involved like on set. We are doing our own like VHS style segments at the end of each VHS kill count. So I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but as of recording this, in 2 days VHS 2 comes out. As of this airing, I'm assuming it's already out. And in that one, I die at the end, and it's fun.
That's awesome.
I got to act. It was a great time. So yeah, we're doing those. We're doing, what can we talk about that's coming up? I forget what we've announced, so I'm not going to say anything else.
What's
the
your
VHSs are happening?
What's your favorite horror movie of the year so far?
Ooh, I think it's Lisa Frankenstein.
Okay.
I really like that movie. I don't think it's the best horror movie of the year. It just scratches a very particular itch in my brain. I don't know. Do you know what that is?
Yes. That one
Okay.
I looked up. I liked Maxine, but I didn't like how it ended.
I've heard that. It's a movie that I was going to go see, and then enough of my friends who I trust were like, it's not good, that I was like, I'll watch it eventually. I'll watch it for work. Because God knows I'll have to.
Trap, I know for a fact.
So here's the thing.
Really went off the rails at the end.
Here's the thing. I don't think Trap is a horror movie. I think that's false marketing. I love Trap, though. I think Trap's incredible.
I don't like any time after they leave. Like,
I disagree. Like, I get it. I understand. I get it. I just think it's so silly.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's like Wile E. Coyote.
Yes. He just keeps coming back. Everyone's talking about how horrible Night Swim is.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I think my bosses saw it and did not have high praise for it.
Okay.
Oh, what? Mousetrap? Okay, here's what I can tell you. We're covering, can I tell you this? No. If I'm not supposed to, oops.
We'll bleep it out.
If
you tell us, we'll bleep it out.
We're covering the Mousetrap. No, I'm pretty sure I can. We're gonna go with I can say this. We're covering the Mousetrap, which was previously known as Mickey's Mousetrap, which is the first in the line of, hey, Steamboat Willie is public domain now.
There we go.
And I have not watched it yet. My roommate, who is my coworker and also my boss, have watched it and cannot stop talking about how utterly abysmal it is.
Really?
Oh, boy.
Those Winnie the Pooh movies were great.
So, we are covering the second one, and it's apparently better.
Okay.
The first Winnie the Pooh, like, not to defend those movies, because I don't think that they're good, from what I understand.
That's how we're going to introduce you in the show, as Ben Staunch, Winnie the Pooh horror movie defender.
Ben Bellevue loves Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 more than anything else.
Noted.
Ben Bellevue's letterbox top 4 is just Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 4 times.
just 4 different segments of the poster lined up in a square.
Yeah. But yeah.
What about that? There was one where it's just a guy walking around murdering people. Like he just wakes up one day.
Oh,
it's like a Jason Voorhees
In a Violent Nature.
What was it?
In a Violent Nature.
Oh, yeah.
In a Violent Nature is very slow. It's when you think about what Jason Voorhees is probably doing and all that in between time, it's walking around the woods. But it's a cool movie. Like it's the kind of movie where you have to be in the right headspace, which is just know that's what it is, be vibing, maybe have an edible. But it's cool. I like that. Like, that's the kind of artsy shit where I'm like, that's fun.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, Joel. It's just like it's just Jason walking, and then everyone else is like, "Oh my god!" Then he murders a bunch of people, and then he just keeps walking, and then the camera just keeps following him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just read about the Sting movie, and I don't remember that came out this year, and that is, Sting. It's about
the
spider.
The spider one. I think it's one of two because there's Sting and then there's Infested, which is a foreign. Because it's Infested, which is also called Vermines. I think I might be butchering the pronunciation of that word. That one's supposed to be good. Sting is not.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, from what I saw, Sting looked all right. But I'm gonna watch the YouTube explanation of this and not actually watch the movie.
I mean, I guess to be fair, when I say from my understanding Sting isn't that good, it is also because it came out back to back with Infested, a movie that is supposed to be good, that is also about spiders.
Okay.
So Sting might be fine. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm not making an actual judgment here. There's simply too many movies, and while I do work in horror, it is also my job, and when I come home after work, I'm like, I don't really want to watch another one.
That's
get
fair.
that.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, you are our special guest. And because of that, I put together a little game we play called Indie or Outie.
Okay.
This is where I will give the title of something, and we got to find out whether it's an indie game or something else.
Okay.
Since you're our guest and you come here full of horror, we're going to talk horror movies. You got to tell me, and this is everybody here, you got to tell me whether this is an indie game or a horror movie. All right, so if everybody... Do you have a piece of paper by any chance?
Yeah.
I expect that we're going to get trounced.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the play
Either
is
right-
just a copy off of Ben and C.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really embarrassing for me when that's not true.
This is always anarchy. It's just guessing. It's all just guesswork because sometimes we find out that the name is something that could be both.
Yep.
So you want one piece of paper that says in and one piece of paper that says out. When Alex says whatever the title is, he's going to give us a couple of seconds, and then everybody has to throw up an in or an out.
Okay.
In is for indie game, out is for something else.
It's for
Gotcha.
not what it is.
Okay. Joel, let me know
And
when you're
throwing
ready.
this paper up to be visible or throwing it up to be, like, not visible, and then I turn it.
Let's see. Put up. Yeah, we're going to do it.
Okay, so I should have
Although
this one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you accounted for the mirroring of the words better than me.
Okay, first,
All right.
Signalis.
Man, I don't know.
That is correct. It is an indie game. It is a top-down shooter that actually apes a lot of the original Resident Evil with tank controls and a cop in a mansion fighting off zombies.
Yeah, that one's on my wish list.
It's on my wish list. Yeah, there we go.
Next. Let me find... I just want to get it on here. It Steals. And it is an indie game.
I don't know.
Steals.
Around every corner, face against stealthy antagonists that will take advantage of your expectations. First-person horror, very pixely art, but yeah, It Steals.
Okay, I'm searching to see if that's a movie too.
Don't try to back it. Don't back in
No,
this.
you're
into
you're lucky.
technicalities.
I'm not seeing anything.
Right. Next, In the Earth.
I don't know.
You two are correct.
Okay.
It is a horror movie. Let's see.
I feel like I've heard of this one.
It's a 2021 movie.
I have heard of this one.
Yeah. Psychological horror film. It doesn't say what it's about. What was it about? Scientists sent to a government-controlled outpost while unspecified pandemic has ravaged the country. Okay.
We
So that
lived
is-
that.
Getty. Okay, next. Seven Nights Ghost.
That's dumb enough to be an indie game.
And you are all correct. Seven Nights Ghost. Peaceful days full of curses. A heartwarming horror game about exploring mysterious company housing and living with a ghost for 7 days. Getty and Ben tied. Joel won behind.
The joke here, Ben, is that after years of doing this, we keep on finding new and creative names for video games. As we learn. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Next.
The problem is I think you can apply that same logic to horror movies, so this is really a crapshoot.
You're not wrong.
I mean, guys, I'm about to give you the next one. The next one is Psycho Gorman. And Ben is correct.
That's because we've covered that, bitch.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
got a kill count.
Sound like a Death Stranding character.
Siblings Mimi and Luke discover a strange glowing gem while digging in their garden. That night, an alien monster emerges from the hole. Okay, this is a weird alien monster movie.
Shudder exclusive, baby.
Next. Okay, this one might be up for technicalities, but I'm going to try to keep it not. The Voices.
I feel like it's either.
It is a movie. That's my...
God damn it.
Yeah, let's see here. Okay, so that's Joel and Getty. The Voices is Ryan Reynolds, where his cat and dog tell him to murder people.
Earlier
Yep.
career Ryan Reynolds?
2014.
Oh, okay.
He has kind of blatantly said himself that he had like a big jump in career, then a real heavy dip, where he couldn't get a job for a very long time until Deadpool. So, Voices. This was in the dip. Next. Spree. Like the candy.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. It is a movie.
Starring the guy from Stranger Things.
Yep,
Okay.
There we go. Black comedy horror film, Gonzo-style satire, follows a social media obsessed rideshare driver. Oh wow, okay. He's an Uber
Spree's
driver.
good.
Obsessed with going viral. And there's a lot of blood here.
Also has a kill count.
Does it? Okay.
This is my plug.
There we go. I like that. That means you're good at your job. Next. No One Lives Under the Lighthouse.
I don't know.
Okay. Joel is correct. It is
Good for you.
It's like just enough words where it's like that name might be a little bit of a stretch for a movie.
a slow burn retro horror game in which you arrive at the old lighthouse on a small island near the coast of the United States. You need to take over his duties and watch after the lighthouse. Okay. Things get creepier and creepier as you go. Okay. I get it. Okay. Tattletale.
I'm just guessing here.
This feels like it could be both thing, but
It is an indie game, and I looked it up, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of movies. This is about a bloodthirsty Furby. No, there's a monster, and you use a Furby to help. The Furby can see it.
so what is it called again?
What?
Tattletale, all one word.
Tattletale.
What?
We gotta see this.
And you pay to play this?
$5.
It's $5. $5. The
Somebody's
bloodthirsty
paying
Mama
$5.
Tattletale hunts you down. First-person horror. You have a Furby that helps you identify the monster, I guess. Okay. Starry Eyes. Okay,
I gotta be
okay, we got
contrarian
two
just to have a
indies.
chance.
And Joel got the point. It is a horror
Damn.
movie. Aspiring actress who is a stuck waitressing at a fast food restaurant. This keeps going. Give me a brief. Something about maggots. Ooh, okay. That looks pretty gory.
All right.
Next. Pneumata. Like pneumonia, but pneumata.
Is there a third option? I'll go in.
It is an indie game. Prepare to question what is reality and what is insanity in one of the scariest psychological horrors in years. The tenants are going missing, screams echo, and blood seeps through the walls of Clover Hill. This is coming soon.
Yeah, that name sounds very like indie horror.
Yeah, I like it. I will go one more. Oh, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll go make it 12. Last one. Butterfly Kisses.
Alex, I'm ashamed. I feel like it was a poor performance. I don't know.
What?
Ben and Joel?
Whatever.
Okay, and it is a film.
All I thought about was that stupid song when you said that.
Yeah, me too.
Is it a song?
Yes, there
is.
I don't want to listen to this. A director discovers a box of videotapes showing the creepy film project to two students that stars a local horror legend. Just for funsies, I had a couple other ones. The Dark and the Wicked. That was a horror movie.
Yep.
The Cat Lady. Indie game.
That's a horror game or just an indie game?
It's a point-and-click adventure, but it's like a really like a scary, like bloody one. And Spirit Hunter.
Game?
Both.
Yes, that is also a game. That's like an anime horror game. Yeah, it's like a weird anime horror visual novel. All right, so that was Indie or Outie, and Ben is the winner.
You know, I really have to owe it to knowing the names of some of the movies.
Well, that's kind of the point, though. You had it. I gave you advantage for a reason.
And I appreciate that. And sure, I do feel like when it was purely just all three of us judging based off of not actually knowing, I wasn't doing as well as the other two. I think it was just when I went, yeah, I know Spree exists. Okay. Or yeah, I know Psycho Gorman.
There were a few times I felt I was doing like the Mexican standoff thing with you, like being like, what are you gonna put up here?
Yeah. I was waiting to see what you two would be, and you were waiting to see what we two would be, and I was like, well, Joel, one of us has to fold here.
Oh man.
Somebody has to lose.
Getty, I'm handing the show back over to you.
Oh no. Are we done though? You got a final segment, don't you?
I know. That was it.
Really? You don't want to do one last thing?
Oh yeah. No, you're in charge of the show. Go for it.
I'm not in charge
Getty,
of anything.
you're in charge when Alex
I just
says
show up
he can
here.
be in charge.
See, that's the joke. Thank you. All right, we're gonna quickly go through our final segment of the night. One last thing. Ben, what one last thing is we like to leave the audience with a final thought or, just a little insight into what they can expect in the future, and that is our one last thing. So this week's one last thing is brought to you by reviews. Where you at? Joel, you got a review, don't you? You got reviews.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, I got like two reviews too. I'll do it.
Good. Otherwise, Alex will find you. He'll hunt you down in your home.
No one said that.
Yeah, I did. My one last thing is games. I think Alex posted one of my reviews today. I think I did Duck Paradox. I reviewed Duck Paradox like a month ago, and it finally hit the website today. So go check out Duck Paradox if you like ducks. How many ducks did I give it, Alex?
I think you texted me 3.
3 ducks.
Yep,
Out of
3.
what?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I will buy anybody a copy of Duck Paradox if they email the show, mail@superggradio.com, and ask us out of how many duck scale that is. All right, Alex.
My one last thing is I am very close to finishing up Crime Scene Cleaner. And that game actually gets kind of like, it's not horrifying, but it definitely is. The things that I'm experiencing are like, there's one level where it's like, oh, this rich like bunch of friends rented out a museum, and then they all, like, the main guy said, okay, I've provided everybody weapons in each room. It's a battle to the death. We all are going to, like, one of us will survive. The rest of us are going to die. And I'm just there cleaning up the mess and finding like 15 different bodies. And it's a big museum. So I'm like, they made this dinosaur look like it's eating this corpse. Ha ha ha. Let's mop it up again and put the dinosaur back. It's pretty messed up, but also very good. And also the entire, like, they really ham it up in between segments where it's like, go home and read your email. And it's like, hi, I'm your sick daughter. I really miss you and hope I can come home soon. Doctor said I'm doing better. It's like, oh, whatever.
It's messed up, man.
It's just really giving the bare minimum of like, see, he's not a bastard.
Joel.
So yeah, 9 Souls update. I'm putting it down. We have Ender Lilies to play through, so I gotta start that. But more importantly, that last boss is just whipping me badly, so badly. The bosses are all tough in that game, but all the other ones prior to had moves that were pretty flashy. So if it wasn't predictable, at the very least, you had a bit of a understanding of how to get the rhythm. This final boss, no flash, no flare whatsoever, but so fluid and so erratic and irregular in its movements, and I just can't place it. I give up for now. I gotta put it down.
Is that going to affect your overall ranking for the game?
Maybe. It'd be a really sour way to end the experience if I had to just drop it for good at that point. I need to reach the conclusion,
All right.
Daddy. You have to finish the fight.
So you're going to YouTube the ending, is what I just heard.
No, I would just not. I would just leave it if I was doing that.
Alex will YouTube the ending and tell you what it is.
Already did.
Don't check chat.
You told me the last boss was hard, and I YouTubed it.
Got it. Don't.
Yep.
Don't check
Okay.
the bots.
Well, Ben,
What's up?
do you have one last thing that you'd care to share?
Hey, if you feel it, chase it. You all should watch Twisters. That's my
Twisters?
last thing to share. Everyone watch Twisters. Please, for the love of God, watch Twisters.
I want to.
So
I
good.
really. I think it just hit streaming.
It's definitely available video on demand. I saw it in 40x yesterday, and that's my 3rd time seeing it, but it was my first time seeing it in 40x. Incredible.
Yeah.
What a picture.
Wow. Okay.
You don't face your fears, you ride them.
That's a good tagline. That's really good.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's almost.
That's
That's
strong.
like that's up there with like, I live
cheesy.
my life 1/4 mile at a time. It's like,
Hmm.
don't face your
Yep.
fears, you write them. I'm gonna write that down.
Great. All right. That'll be it for this week's episode of Super GG Radio. Before we go, you can find us on X at Super GG Radio and twitch.tv/Super GG Radio, where Thursdays are podcast day. Anybody want to tell me
Nope.
what's wrong with this?
Nope.
Okay. Wednesdays.
That today's Wednesday?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I had Muppets D&D tomorrow. I had
This
to
is-
ask for
no,
it
it's
to
a
be
priority.
today.
It's
Oh,
okay.
that sounds so much cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It is. I'm the son of Gonzo.
Oh, that's so much
we wouldn't be
cooler.
here either if that's what are in our plans. So don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Yeah.
If I had a dedicated group of friends that would play Dungeons and Dragons with me, Alex.
No, that's
Alex.
way cooler. What he's doing is way cooler than Dungeons and Dragons.
All right.
The bad guys are Sesame Street.
Oh,
See?
oh,
That could be us.
My Friendly Neighborhood, Resident Evil, but Muppets. Okay.
Yeah, they made me play
Listeners
through.
can't hear me pointing at Alex and Alex pointing at me.
They made me play through that whole game for Extra Life last year.
It's like 6 hours.
Yeah, it was 4 hours. I remember.
That one.
I was starting to fall asleep at like hour 3.
I just thought you were so
All right.
into it. I couldn't tell.
He told me we had to finish it. You know me.
did. We did.
Wednesday is not tonight. Alex is alternating his Drunk Souls experience, and we'll also be tossing in some itty bitty indie committee. Joel, you on board for that?
Yeah. We haven't picked the game yet, though.
Oh, I picked a game.
Are you playing the first round? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't worry, he's got you covered.
Yep, I got you.
And then Joel is just being the bad guy whenever he wants. Sometimes at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday while I'm driving into work.
Pretty sure the last few weeks it's been Tuesday morning. I mean,
Yes,
8 a.m.?
yeah. Well, I mean, look, I have an abundance of time right now, Getty, and only so many job applications and interviews I could do. So,
Ben, we have a series where Joel plays a game that has a morality system, and he has to be a horrible person.
I just completed Mass Effect
feels like
1,
the worst.
which is like, extinction of entire races and, killing off infected that you could potentially rehabilitate with some kind of grenade. Yeah. And I didn't romance anybody because
And how
I
are
pissed them
you
all
doing
off.
mentally?
So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. He goes, "Where was the romance?" I'm like, "You missed the entire romance part." He's like, "I think I just made everyone mad at me." I'm like, okay.
I told you that there is a way to romance one of the people in the Citadel at the beginning of the game if you're a jerk to them. And you obviously weren't a jerk to them.
Or I just didn't
because
talk to them enough. I don't know. But
It's literally part of the story. You go to talk to her, and if you're mean to her, then she's like, all right, I guess we gotta bang.
you know what? Different strokes for different folks. That's okay.
He was just too nice. Ooh, all right. Ben, where can people reach you?
People can find me on Instagram or Letterboxd or Twitter. I will not be calling it by any other name. At Bendabelle, BenDabelle. And I mean, you can probably find me other places with that username. I don't know. It's the one I use everywhere. I've lost track. But Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter are the places I am most active. Please follow me on Letterboxd. I want more followers. That's the best social media.
I think I gotta get in on
Alright.
Letterboxd.
It's great. I watch my movie and then I write my stupid little joke. And I'm like, 4 stars.
Okay. I'm adding you. I'm gonna get Letterboxd and I'm gonna add you.
All right. If you'd like to reach us with questions or input, our email address is mail@superggradio.com, and provide us a review on iTunes or the podcast app of your choice. Please check out our Patreon, where you can get monthly pictures of our dogs, get your name read off as an executive producer, free copies of Early Adopters, and even get a chance to play games with us. You're lovable losers of the
You two
podcast.
need to send me
It's the only way
pictures
Getty
of
will ever
dogs.
play games with anybody. Oh, I have so many pictures of dogs.
Create a folder in the shared drive.
Done.
Do you need me to do that? I send you pictures of my dog all the time. I'm pretty sure I sent one during
I don't
the podcast.
save those there. You need to put it into a repository where I actively check it. Wait, you did just
That
send a
was
dog
fully
picture.
good.
I told you.
Done.
This is
Okay, that's
bureaucracy.
efficient. That's efficiency. Good job, Getty.
Thanks for listening, and good game, Alex.
GG Getty.
Good game,
Good game.
Joel. And good game, Ben.
I just realized what the GG stood for.
Yeah!